So hello and welcome. Thank you for joining this session today. Hope everybody are staying safe out there and enjoying the beautiful weather. Today is sunny here in Vancouver, BC. So I hope that wherever you are here around the world, it's sunny day for you. So today, this is our second session for Power Platform. And actually it is a virtual session for this one. So my name is Ali Sharifi. I'm a Power Platform technical specialist working for Microsoft. I'm based in Vancouver, BC. And today with me, I'm joined with Chuck, who is calling from Redmond. And also we have a special guest today. Her name is Elaiza.
Hello.
Hi, Elaiza.
Hi.
You were just actually talking, where's Elaiza? But
I'm here.
Awesome. So to give you guys some background, Elaiza is one of our MVPs on business application. She's an avid blogger and YouTuber, and she has a YouTube series called What the F, and F here stands for flow. So if you guys want to introduce yourself, please go ahead.
Elaiza, he's calling on you. You go first. Ladies first.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was for other people on the call. Sorry, I'm a bit awkward.
No, it's just three of us at this point.
Hey, so I'm Elaiza. If you don't know who I am based in New Zealand, also known as Middle Earth from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so I have a background in Dynamics 365. I started, I think, back in 2009 or 2010 on CM4, and now, of course, it's now known as Dynamics 365, and picked up Power App Portals and Power Automate in the last 3 years or so. And yeah, I do have a CF, What the Flow. So follow me on YouTube if you aren't following me already, and that's all I have to say.
Want to use the AI builder. The demo that I have made ready here is actually for object detection. The scenario that I have is for inventory management or for store audits. So imagine that you receive a new batch of product and you want to enter those information within your ERP system or whatever system you use downstream. And instead of just scanning barcode or searching the inventory by a name or by barcode ID or whatever, we want to use the object detection module on your cell phone to be able to capture those new inventories within your applications. So let's just jump in and show a demo of the object detection. So I'm just going to go and open up Microsoft Teams. I have actually a Power Apps built that has AI Builder object detection on it, and that application actually is attached to a team channel here. So within my Microsoft Teams, I have a channel called Retail, and I have this general tab, which I can talk to my colleague, I can talk to headquarters and whatever. But let's imagine that a new batch came to the store, and I'm in charge of the inventory of these products. So if I go to this app, which is a store audit app, right from Microsoft Teams, here I can just actually make it bigger. This allows me to take photos or upload some photos to this app. So I'm just going to use this button, which is detect, and actually upload one photo here from my favorite tea brand. Actually, it's a Canadian tea brand, David's Tea. And this app actually goes and recognize the object. And down here, it shows me what is the brand of this tea, which is Organic Silk Dragon Jasmine Tea, and it shows the confidence as well. So since I actually uploaded a lot of photos for this specific brand, it shows 96% confidence of this object detection. At the bottom section of this app, I have actually a list of products within my store. So I'm a tea seller, obviously. They have different type of teas here, but the last one, which is this one, which is recognized right here, it just updated this field that says you can add actually one quantity to your inventory. I can actually, if there are some issues and things like that, I can just go and manually update this number and update the downstream system, either ERP system or whatever application you use within your organization. You can detect actually different type of product here as well. So let's just use another one here. Essentially, you train your models, and the more photos you upload, okay, it crashed, but anyway, you can do detection of those objects. So let's step back and unpack this solution here. So in order to build this solution, I'm just going to go to make.powerapps.com. This is actually a maker portal for Power Apps, and on the left side, you can see list of all the apps that I have in this environment, and one icon on the left is AI Builder. So right from here, if your tenant, if your environment, if you have a valid license for AI Builder, you will see this screen. If your environment doesn't have any AI credits, you will see actually a red icon at the top. Let me actually just switch here. And if I go to AI Builder down here, for instance, this environment that I have, I don't have any AI credit on this environment. It shows that you can go and request a 30 days trial for AI Builder. So if you don't have a license, you can just start using it for 30 days and experience all of these features. Or in many enterprise scenarios, what you want to do probably is you want to ask your admins to give you some credits. So if I go to Admin Center for Power Platform, as I mentioned, AI Builder credits are shared between the tenant across the environments. So you have multiple environments here, and one important thing is that you need to look at your region for your environment. For instance, for Canadian region right now, we don't have object detection available yet, but definitely on US we have it ready. So my demo is actually on the sandbox environment here, which has object detection. But as an admin on your tenant, you can go to the capacity section of the admin portal. And if you go down here and look at the add-ons, I have for my sandbox environment, I have 300K. I'm going to just bump it up to 500. And an admin can actually assign these credits to your environment. So once actually it is assigned to your environment, it will show up, and this red flag will be removed from your environment. So I'm just going to switch here and show you my sandbox environment that has a valid license. One thing I want to show is from the admin portal, as we saw there are like different capacities that can be assigned, and also the region is important because, as I said, each region has different modules in it that they have a different cadence of publishing these modules. So as I mentioned, AI Builder modules are using CDS. So on the left side, if you click on the data and look at entities, this shows list of all the entities that we have in this environment. And that's actually one of the requirements to have AI Builder being used in your environment. So you need to have an environment that has a CDS enabled on it. So with my sandbox environment, I have a CDS attached here. And if I go down here, there are a couple of entities that you can see here. So there's one entity which is called AI templates. This entity actually, let me just find it, AI templates. This holds all the templates that we have for AI modules. So if you look at the data here, this lists all the different type of AI modules that we have. The other entity that we have here, if I look at the relationships here within the CDS and change this from default to all, it's called AI model. So there's one to-many relationship from the template to AI model, and this holds all the models that you build custom here. So as you see here, I have one model which is called my demo here. Right, so to unpack the app and also the AI modules, if you go to the AI Builder section, you can see different actually models here within this environment. And I already created actually one environment here, which is this one, and I'm using this my product environment for the demo that I showed. But for the sake of presentation, I'm just going to go and create a new object detection, and I'm going to call it Vancouver demo. And the good thing here is, I mean, I remember I was playing around with this last year, and at that time it required 5 images. But good thing that they bumped it up to 15 because my it wasn't showing a good result with just 5 images. And the thing here is that if you have more images, more photos uploaded, you have better accuracy on the result. But really high level, if I go and create a new object detection, so they added actually 3 categories here. So you can have object detection based on common objects, for instance, drone here or combine or a skateboard. They kind of previously it was all together, but now they separated, so you get a really better result comparing on what you want to upload here. For instance, if you want to just detect logos from images, you can use brand logos, which allows you to detect specific brand logos. For my demo, I'm just going to use the objects on retail shelves. And with this, as you see, you can take a photo of your as a store worker or inventory manager. You can take a photo of the object, and this will show you how many items you have in a shelf. So I know that a few of our bigger clients like J&J, Pepsi are using this this module right now for their store audits and stuff like that. So I'm just going to select this this category here and go to the next step. So I'm going to add a new object. So there are two ways. You can connect this to some sort of a database, which is CDS in this point, or you can just type down the name of different objects that you want to detect. So for presentation, I'm just going to go switch to database, and I'm just going to connect to a product. So select from the database. As you see, this is actually coming from CDS. This is a list of all the entities that we have in CDS in this environment. So product is the entity that I want to use, and I want to use the name here for this detection here. So it lists all the different products that I have within my environment. I'm going to select them all. And the next step is adding images. So these are all new features, which is really exciting to see. Previously, you had to upload all from your local storage, but now you can connect to SharePoint, or you can bring the images from Azure Blob. So I'm just going to use SharePoint for this instance, and I have this connection, and actually I have all of my photos within Microsoft Teams on this location. So there's a folder here called product, which is stored on a SharePoint. So I'm going to go to retail group and shared document, general, and product. I'll select them all and add them to my model here. The good thing is all of these photos are available. So if you go to documentation for AI Builder, you can get all of these photos here. So I'm just going to upload these photos to this model. Takes a couple of seconds to upload them. Once it's uploaded, you will go through the process of tagging these images. So we're going to go and select each one of these objects within the photos and train the model with the specific selections of the objects. So obviously for a demo, I'm not going to go through all these 42 images, but really high level to take a look at it. Maybe let's just tag one or two images here. So as you see, this is a list of all the ones that I just uploaded, and I can select this one. I can put a selection around it, and then since I actually connected it to my product entity, it shows list of all the product that I have within that entity. So this one is mint, looks good. Let's go to the next one, and once you actually select a couple of them, it just, like this one, it just gives you a suggestion that you can select here and, adjust this selection. And then this one again is mint. This one is cinnamon and whatever. So once you tag all of your photos, you at least you need 15, I guess, at this point to be able to have a good model with training and stuff like that. And once it's all done, I'm just going to go and actually open up the one that I already trained and show you the screen there. So once it is actually built, you come to this model section and you'll see this is the one that I actually published here. So if I go to the details of this model here, it shows it is actually published, and you can use it right away in your applications. And you can also do a quick test here. So if you either publish or unpublish, you can actually upload a photo here and detect how it behaves actually. So I have this T here, and it just says that it's 92% accuracy for this one. So the key here is to upload as many photos as you can to increase the accuracy of the detection. Now, if you want to add this model within the application, you can go to the app section of the Power Apps. You can go and click on Canvas app. So we have a PCF control actually added for those AI modules here. So if I go and say, let's just blank app from phone layout. So within this, I can easily go and insert one of these models, and in this case is object detector. It goes and looks at the database, and I have one which is published so far. So I'm going to select that, make it bigger here, and I can run this. So you can upload a photo, and it will show you the detection of the photo and what's the accuracy of that. So going back to the app that I built, let's just quickly take a look at that. So within this app, I have actually two connectors. The first connector is looking at the actually using the AI builder. The second one is actually this table, this gallery down here. So the gallery actually is connected to my product table within the CDS. So it shows the quantity of each one of these items. And as I said, it can detect and it can update each one of these quantities down here. And with that, I guess that's all I have.
Yep, I'm here. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so you should see a slide. Hang on, let me change the display settings. Cool, that's better. So today I will go through improvements to form processing. I'm really excited because last year I gave this a whirl, which I'm going to tell you about. So this is what I'm going to be going through. So as you saw earlier from Ali, there are different models that are available today in the AI Builder, and the one that I'll be going through is form processing. When I tried this out last year, I looked at people in the community who had done demonstrations. I also saw Stephen present it last year at Microsoft Ignite Orlando in November. And a lot of the demonstrations was using what I call happy path forms. So forms that have been created in a nice manner that allows form processing to pick it up and recognize those fields. But what I wanted to do was do a real test drive against a proper real life form. And I did it against a real life form here in New Zealand, which I'll explain shortly. And it didn't really work out as expected. And so when I gave some feedback to Joe Fernandez, who is based out in the Paris team, he took that on board. And then I heard from him in April saying, we've made improvements. Can you give it a test drive again? And I did. And I was actually very impressed. So in terms of the idea, what I did was think about something that is applicable in New Zealand, which is where I live and work. So I work for a Microsoft partner here in New Zealand called Theta. And I was thinking, okay, what's a use case that's available for every organization here in New Zealand so that they can adopt AI Builder? And the scenario that I came up with is using what we call an IRD text code declaration form here in New Zealand. So this form is used by all organizations here in New Zealand, where when they hire a brand new employee, it's mandatory for this form to be filled out. So it doesn't matter if you're in the corporate world or if you're working in hospitality, so you've just joined something like a Met Cafe where you're going to be a barista, this is the form that you have to fill. And so this is the form that I used against form processing last year, and then again this year when the improvements have been made. So that's what I'll go through. So in terms of the solution, the full use case is a text declaration form is uploaded into a private SharePoint site. A flow and Power Automate is triggered, and then that's when we use a new action called predict, and it's going to detect the data that has been submitted from that uploaded form, and then it will go and create a new contact record with that data. And it's also going to point it to that SharePoint file. So if someone, like a human, needs to review the confidence score, they can do so. And then if there is a end user in the application that clicks on the link to the SharePoint site, they're not going to be allowed to see it, because the idea with these text declaration forms is that it's something that only HR should view. So I was just trying to portray that you can also have some security around this if you wanted to implement something like this use case scenario. So let's get ready to demo. You all ready for this?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to head over to my browser now and I'll show you what the form looks like. So this is the New Zealand government website, and down here is where you can download the form. And there's two ways of how employees can fill in this form. The first method is they can type in, and they can provide their IRD number, which is their tax code file number here in New Zealand. They can enter in their tax code. So as we scroll down, there's some guidelines that will show them what their tax code is that they need to select, and then they can fill in the rest of the details. Method number 2 is they can print out this form, they can write on it, and then they can scan it and then email it back to their new employer. And then that's when the new employer would go away and enter this data into whatever system. But with AI Builder, they don't need to do that. So what I'll show you next is form processing in AI Builder. So as you saw earlier from Ali, you simply head over to your maker site, whether it's Power Automate or Power Apps, head over to AI Builder and select Build. And then this is essentially where we can select form processing as our AI Builder type and go ahead and start uploading some documents so that we can train the model. So here's the option that I'm selecting, and like Ali, I'll call it Vancouver Demo. And in here is where you'll need at least 5 documents to upload. So now this is going to create the AI model, and we can go ahead and upload our documents. So I'm going to upload at least 5. I have done a sample set of 30 in the past. Just bear in mind that when you do a large sample set, you will have to go through all the forms that you have uploaded just to help out the AI model in terms of selecting and identifying those fields. So we selected my 5 documents, and now we're going to go and select the fields so that we can train the model. So now I'm going to select a form and select the option Analyze. So what this is doing now is that it's analyzing all the documents that I have uploaded, and we'll see in a second that it's going to load a new step of the process where we can outline the fields that we want to capture and identify. I feel like we need elevator music right now.
You need the Jeopardy theme song, I think.
Do 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 do. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I tried.
You're doing a great job. Unfortunately, I don't think we own the copyright to it. So I'm glad you stopped, though. We'd have Vanna White coming and crashing our party. Cease and desist. There it is.
Cool. So as you saw, it finished analyzing the 5 forms, and it's going to give you this nice handy dandy wizard, but I'll close out of this. So let me just zoom in so you can see it a bit better. So as you can see, there's little, I'm going to call them ants. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but I'm going to call them ants. You can see these ants outlined around some text. So it's picked up 1, but that's not really a field. But you can see that it's correctly picked up the first name. So when I click on this, it will even bring through the label. So it's also going to suggest a label as well. And we can do the same for the rest of the fields that we want to capture on the form. So the next one is family name. So if I click on that, it'll then detect the text of Harvey. And then this one, it's only picked up the first digit of this IRD number. But if I use my mouse and I drag across the numbers to represent this field, it'll then pick up the numbers correctly. And then now I can enter in my own field label as well. And so with the text code, you can see that it's got a space between letters, but it will still pick it up. And then if I want to expand it, I can do so as well. So let's try this. So now it's picked up the other letter of L. So it gives you some flexibility to outline fields if it hasn't done it properly. And so the same with the date field, if I select this, it will pick up these numbers. So if I just try again, oop, this one's not behaving. There we go. So then I can give this a field label as well. So all of the field labels that you enter for every field that you selected will appear on the right-hand side. If you want to update them, you can. And then you simply select confirm fields, and then we have to repeat that for the remaining 4 forms. But the cool thing that I'm going to show you is that with the AI model, it's already detected the fields that was already highlighted in form 1. So with this one, I know that I don't need to reselect it because over on the right-hand side, it has detected it correctly, whereas the other 3 fields that have these orange circles indicate that it hasn't detected it, so there's something that you need to do. So one way of doing this is either outlining it, and when you outline the field, it will give you the remaining fields that it didn't detect, and so you can simply just click and select. And then the other one is if you draw in the document, so this one was the text code. Was it text code? No, it was the date. Yes. So now when I draw and outline this, so if I just try this again and hit the tick button, it'll then correctly grab it in there. So you've got some flexibility of how you want to select and outline your fields. So I'll just quickly go through the remaining ones. But as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. You outline and select the fields accordingly. So this functionality wasn't available last year, but as of the May 2020 Wave 1 release, it's possible, which is nice. Okay, so these last 2 forms, you'll see that these are scanned forms, so forms that I have written and scanned. And so I wanted to train the model with both digital and handwritten scanned forms. So we've just got one more to do. Okay, so that's all 5 of our forms done, and now we can train it. So once I select train, the model will be training, and then the next step is to publish it. Once we publish it, it will then be available to reference in Power Automate and in Power Apps. So we'll see the status over here on the right, and you can see that I've done some other models as well.
Elaiza, do you have any client who are using this? Like this example, is this a real client that are using this module right now?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
But it's something that I would like to see in New Zealand. But not only New Zealand, because I know that Australia has their own tax form as well. So I think Neil and Amy, if you're on the call, maybe you could say something. That's Neil Benson.
Can you just
Neil Benson
briefly repeat the question?
So the question was, do you have customers using this? But I think Neil dropped off, Elaiza.
Oh, okay.
I've not had any customers using it. I've kind of shown it off quite a bit, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's really cool." But not any customers that have actually, that I know of, that have taken it up in my space.
Yeah. So I think it's up to us to educate the customers as well as the community as well.
Hey, Elaiza, it's Neil.
Oh, hey, Neil.
So I had a customer with a form where the boxes were, sometimes the label was beside or above or below. Some had individual boxes for each letter. Others were different, and it was just a bit of a mess. And they decided rather than rewrite their paper form, they would just produce an app, and the users could enter the data straight into the system. So yeah, you don't always have that option. Sometimes you have to take a PDF and digitize it, but luckily we had a way around it.
Oh, cool. All right, so it looks like that the model has been published. So this part of the presentation was showing you how easy it is to create a new model for form processing and train it. So now what I'll do is I'll jump over to Power Automate and I'll show you the flow that I've put together. Okay, so this is my flow. So as I mentioned earlier, the life cycle of this use case is that you're going to have someone that's going to upload the completed text declaration form into a SharePoint site. And so my trigger will be when a file is created in a folder. So all I'm doing is I'm putting it to the site address as well as the folder path. And then the next action that we're using is what we call predict. So predict is an action that is made available that allows you to interact with the AI model that we've just generated. So if I expand model, oh, it's because I haven't refreshed, we would see our Vancouver demo, but you can see that all the other previous AI models that I've created are now selectable in here. So the one that I'm going to select is one that I created originally. And then in terms of the document type, this is where you can outline the file type. And so because I'm using PDF, that's what the file type is going to be. And then in terms of the document, this is pretty much the base 64 of this file that we had uploaded into SharePoint. Once you run this flow, there's a bunch of data that is returned in the JSON response of this predict action, which I will show you in a few minutes. And then the next thing that I'm doing in this flow is tidying up the sign date value. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'll show you. So I don't know if you were closely watching the records, sorry, the forms that I had uploaded and the fields that it had identified. So I'm just gonna select Betsy. And so at the moment it's analyzing. And so what I wanted to show you is that when we identified and highlighted the date field, it just picks it up as an integer value. So you see here we've got integer values and there's also spaces. And so what I'm doing in the flow here is just tidying up the date values. So first of all, so if I just go to Visual Studio Code just to show you, oh, not that one. This one, all I'm doing is that I'm replacing the blank spaces that have been identified by the AI model. So I'm just going to show you the run history so that you understand. So this is the value that it had picked up, and as you can see, there's spaces. And so in this compose action, we are simply just using a replace function to replace those spaces with blanks so that it's a single, string without spaces. The next one that I'm doing is formatting the signed date. So for all of you who are in the call today who are familiar with, SharePoint or CDS or Dynamics 365, as well as Power Automate, the time date values are stored in a UTC format. But as you can see, when that value is picked up by form processing, it just picks it up as is. And so what we need to do is actually format it into a UTC format. And so with this compose action, what we're doing is formatting it in the way that we want, where it's, year hyphen hyphen DD. And so what the substring is doing is that it's pretty much saying, grab me the 4 string values from the 4th position. So it's going 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be my year. And then my next substring is grabbing these 2 values to form the month. And then my final substring value is grabbing the last 2 values to form the day. So that's what this is. And then the next step, because I'm using CDS or Dynamics 365 as the source of where this data is going to be held other than SharePoint, we need to convert it into a time zone that will work for that end user. If I were to use the UTC format as is, then it will display in the equivalent UTC date time value of that end user. And that's because in Dynamics 365 and in CDS, when you have an end user viewing data through a model-driven application, it'll be based on their personal time zone settings. So therefore, if they are based somewhere like in Vancouver, they're going to see the converted time of UTC. And so that's why we're converting it, so that when they view it in the model-driven app, it's based on their time zone. Luckily with New Zealand, we have a single time zone, so it's pretty straightforward for us. But for those of you who are located in a different country where there are several time zones, it's just a matter of working out what should be your default time zone. So for example, in Australia, if the default time zone should be Sydney, even though there are end users in Brisbane and Adelaide and in Perth, then that's what you would use in here. So then the final step that we're doing is we're grabbing the file path for the file that we've uploaded, and that's so that we can insert it as a URL in the contact record that we're going to create. So the final action in my flow is simply creating that contact record that's going to grab that information from the form that has been uploaded, and it's going to insert it accordingly in fields that I've created, which I'll show you. So I've got a declaration sign date, which is why I'm doing that converted time zone action. And I'm also grabbing things like the IRD number, where we're replacing the blanks and so forth. So I'm going to show you this all in action. So we'll head over to SharePoint and we'll upload that same file that I used for testing. So let's go and grab Betsy Briggs. And so this is now going to upload that file into SharePoint. And we can see that it's uploaded here. So if I go back and check that my flow has been triggered. So here it is. So it's doing its thing. Chuck, is that you typing away?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought I was muted. Yes, it is,
okay.
and I am going to mute myself.
That's cool. That's fine. Okay, so the flow has succeeded, and I'm going to scroll down. So we can see that it's using my AI builder model of IRD Forms 3, and we can see the base 64 details in here, which is what we expected. And then as you can see, it's picked up the date values. And the other thing that I wanted to show you, which Ali spoke about earlier, is the confidence score. So you can see that this is 0.989, so that's pretty confident if you ask me. And then we can see the other fields that it has picked up. So that's what the predict action looks like. And then if I show you the rest of the flow, so we could see that the blanks have been replaced, and now we formatted the date correctly, which is then used in this convert time zone action. And then it's going to go and create the record in the model driven app. So I'm going to switch over so I can show you the contact record that was created, which is Betsy. So we could see that it was created about a minute ago. And so we should see that the first name and last name is populated. And as we scroll down, we can see those IRD details. So it's correctly picked up that information, and that date conversion is what this value is. So in terms of me as an end user, I'm seeing it as the 1st of January. And then in terms of that SharePoint URL that we've generated, if the person ever needed to check that original file that was uploaded, they could do so by clicking on that link. And then just to demonstrate the security behind it, here I am logged in as another user that doesn't have access to that SharePoint site. So if I don't have access to that SharePoint site, I'm going to get thrown an error saying that I don't have permissions to do so. Okay, so if I scroll down and we'll wait for this to load. We'll see that I can't access it because I'm not a member of that private SharePoint site. So That's what I wanted to share with you all today in terms of the improvements to form processing. One thing that I do want to highlight is in the instance where you are using a scan form. So let me just open this one. The quality of the scan will also impact the confidence of the AI builder model, which is what I've learnt during the month of April. So when you do upload a form that is of a poor quality, it'll pick up some other things that it shouldn't. So for example, in the IRD text declaration form, it's got separators to guide the person who's filling in the form. So when this was uploaded, it'll detect this as an integer value of 1. So that is something that you need to be aware of. And it will also display a confidence score. So when you're training your models and you're looking at the data that it has recognized, in a scenario where the confidence score is low, I think that would be a great check to include in your flow in Power Automate, where if the confidence score is less than, let's say, 0.6, then it needs to notify someone or have an indicator on that content record that a human actually needs to review the data that it's captured just to ensure that it's accurate, because sometimes it won't be, because there's only so much that the OCR can do. But yeah, I quite like it. I think it's good. And yeah, thank you, Chuck and Alec, for having me.
Have you had any examples with the signature? I know that sometimes these forms require signature, and actually I have Natalie here joining the call, and I know that they have applications that they use electronic signatures. Yeah. Have you had any experience with that?
No, I haven't. That's a good question. I haven't tried it out yet with an electronic signature, so I'm assuming things like DocuSign. Yeah, I guess that's one that we can take note of and go back to Joe with. In terms of the roadmap, I know that Joe's team is working on getting checkboxes and radio buttons up and running as well. And they are aware of signatures, but not in the digital format. So that's a good one to run past his team. Yeah, but if you have any questions, feel free to come off mute and ask away. Both Ali and I have had experience with form processing, so go for it.
Ben actually asked a question, and I think it's more of a in this case, it might be more of a generic flow question. When you actually take a look at your flows that run, AI builders passing around a whole bunch of JSON, you were actually taking a look at it. Is there any way to actually pipe that whole JSON that they're actually sending as a packet? I know that you can actually go out and do like select and merge on variables, but it doesn't, I still don't think it gives you access to that underlying data structure. Have you?
Let's take a look. I know that there is responses for the different fields. So if I just expand this, so I think the first one is signed date, and yeah, there's a bunch of information in there. I think it's this one. So when you scroll down, there's some property details about it.
And can you pipe those back out if you wanted to actually have those individual fields, or do you know, or have you tried?
I haven't, but because it's JSON, it's pretty simple to do. So you could either use the parse JSON action or use an expression that will retrieve that property.
Okay. Well, there you go, Ben. So we probably need to get like Elaiza back in here.
That's it. Thank you very much. The reason for that is, I have customers who need to take the information from the form out so they can validate it, they do data quality, as well as create records in the other systems. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
One thing I've seen actually with many clients, especially on the insurance industry, they have a lot of forms, and same thing with the tax and government. But what I go first with them is to use maybe Power Apps Portal. So instead of them filling up the form and sending it over, so we can capture and OCR that data, if we can put it in some sort of digital format, like if they can provide those information in some sort of form within Power Apps Portal, you capture that. But whenever these conversation happens, they come back and say, some people, they can't use, the website or the digital format of it, and they just want to upload the file. So it really fills those gaps that we have sometimes with the technology that we have. But this is great. Thank you so much, Elaiza.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on that, for those of you who aren't aware, Power Apps Portals does have integration with SharePoint. So if you wanted to allow the person who's filling in the text declaration form to log into the portal and upload the file, you can enable SharePoint integration. I have done a video on how to enable SharePoint for Power Apps Portals, which reminds me, if you do want to show this, what I demonstrated today, you can head over to my YouTube channel and share this video with any of your customers or people who are interested in AI Builder, because it goes through exactly what I showed you, but just in a compressed format.
So we actually are looking at Captain Canuck, and we actually are now looking at Power Apps. What we're going to do is we could go ahead and create an entity extraction model from scratch, but we're going to use the pre-built one. It's actually pretty easy. Anybody that actually seen us do chatbot demos where we went out and used slot billing, this is actually very, very similar to that. What am I talking about? Where if you have a block of text, where the block of text might say, hey, I'm Elaiza, I'm from New Zealand, I'm 25, and I love to go out and rage, or something like that. There's a lot of data about that.
I wish I was 25.
her location, her name, maybe if she had her email address, and you actually would want to grab that in a tabular format. And this is actually going to let you do that from a Canvas application. So let's go ahead and go to apps for us, Nick.
Yeah, no problem.
And what we're going to do is we're going to go out and say new app, and it's going to be a Canvas app. And in this case, it's actually going to be a tablet. Just give us a little bit of space.
Yeah, and just if I were doing this in real life, which kind of is, I would build this within a solution, but that's just me.
You should always do all of this in a solution. That way, when you create a flow, it gets packaged with it. And when you go out and you start shipping around your models, that goes with it. So again, this is not going to be portable. This is a do as we say, not as we do. This is entirely unscripted.
We're just showing the fun stuff. So yeah, the solutions, we do it there, especially for like the ALM bits, but we're not talking about ALM today. We're talking about.
We're not talking about. We're going to store that for a different day. Matter of fact, we might be able to get Nick to come back and actually talk about either ALM or his specialty portals. So what we're going to do on this, Nick, is you're going to actually go out and do the insert, and you're going to do text input, and you give us a big block or a big text input box. There you go. Sure. And this is going to be pretty big. Let's actually make it multi-line for us under properties.
Oh yeah, properties multi-line. Here we go. Wow.
Perfect. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the easy one. And this has actually been available. Actually, no, this is available only when they added formulas. What we're going to do is add a new label off to the side from that.
Okay.
And the text for this is going to be, go ahead and get rid of the double quotes as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you guys want to follow along, this is actually should be pretty easy. The biggest challenge is, and you saw me actually text Nick this, do you have a trial AI builder? So this is actually the big thing. And if you don't, you can go to the E3 office and actually start up a new tenant, and that will give you a trial as well. You might want to think twice about doing it at your company, because they may not want you to actually start an AI builder trial, because once you start that clock, you can't unwind it, as Elaiza found out.
Yeah, and this is a US-based tenant as well. So I think if it was in the Canadian tenant, we might hit a few roadblocks.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in AI Builder with no space.
Oh.
This is what happens when we don't rehearse, right?
It's like this is live.
Yeah. AI Builder, and get rid of that R, and then retype the R, and then do a full stop or a period. In Canada, is it full stop or is it period?
I think period or dot.
Period. We're going to do a dot. So, and we're going to choose analyze sentiment. And we're going to do open parentheses. Perfect. And you're going to type in text input 1. Yep. Perfect. And document scores. And we want the dot sentiment.
Gotcha.
That was what I did wrong. Now, if we hit enter, booyah! Now you're a a AI builder wizard. Now, if we run this and go ahead and let's go ahead and run it.
Yeah.
And in our text box, type in angry or something.
I am angry at Chuck.
Okay. And that's negative. And then, of course, you have to do something positive, like I adore Elaiza, or I love Ollie, you know.
Elaiza is awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. So
positive.
So there you go. That's sentiment analysis. That's been there. What you had to do historically is you had to call a flow. You could not use those pre-built directly from Canvas app like what we're doing. That's actually new. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to make this awesome. We're going to go out and start parsing this and actually getting those values. So let's go ahead and break out of the run mode. And what we're going to do is let's add, why don't we add 2 tables? So if you go out and grab a table object, it's to the right a little bit.
Oh yeah, there we go.
There we go, and add 2 of them.
Data table 1 and data table 2.
Perfect. And then he's going to move those so they're not quite on top of each other, because the Power Apps team decided that when we actually added new controls, putting them on top of each other is definitely where you wanted them. So kudos to Emma Cooper. I actually like making fun of Emma. Emma's amazing, by the way. She's actually the feature owner that owns these features. And what we're going to do is on that one that he's got highlighted, we are going to go out and parse the key phrases. So we'll talk about that and see what that looks like. So what he's going to go out and do under items, where his cursor's already there, start typing AI builder dot extract key phrases. Cool. Yeah. And then we're going to pass in text input 1.
And you notice that I'm lazy, so I'm tabbing down and.
Good. I'm glad. I like lazy. And then a close parentheses. And again, I don't know that you need dot text, but we're going to find out. And then a full stop. In this case, it just has phrases. So this one's pretty easy, and it's going to help us a little bit. So let's do a dot.
Okay.
And the properties phrases. There you go. Choose that one. And entities is a little bit more complicated because there's other ones. And what we're going to do is now, that our table is still selected, we're going to click on Edit Fields. And there is only one field for phrases, and it's phrase. And we're going to choose Add Field. We should have done this in a drop down. I don't know what I was thinking, but that's okay.
That's all good.
Yeah. And what we're going to do is when Nick does this, you're going to see that this text block only has one phrase of Elaiza. And it's interesting, is that a keyword or is that a phrase? So what's decided is that this is actually a phrase. And you could go out and take a look at, Google actually has got some good documentation on what is a keyword versus a key phrase. And it has to do with search engine optimization, and there's algorithms around it. What we're going to do on the top one is we're actually going to do the exciting one, which is entities. This is in preview. This is what we just released. And Nick's already gone back in, and he's going to go out and start typing AI builder dot. And this one's going to be extract entities. And down 3.
Text in it? Okay.
Yeah, and you're going to put that exact same text box in it.
Input 1.
And close parentheses. And this is dot, and this is entities. And you're going to see that when we actually go out and populate the text box, so let's go and click Edit Fields again. Over on the right.
Start. Yeah.
Yep. And this one, we're actually going to have a whole bunch. We're going to actually add them all.
Okay, length score started. Let's type. Perfect. And you're going to probably need to actually stretch that horizontally so we can actually get some room here. Yeah, we got room.
Okay, let's run this. And what we're going to do is I want you to go to your blog and grab the last 4 paragraphs from your last blog post that you've done.
Okay, sure. So
a little bit of Nick Dolman promotion. Or actually, you're a power lifter. Do you actually have anything on your last competition you did?
Oh, yeah. No, that'll be a little harder to find. It's been a while.
Okay, so grab that, continue reading, expand it out, and let's get a almost a page of just raw text.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of pictures, so here we go.
There you go. All that.
Let's grab the summary.
All that summary stuff, including, there you go.
Perfect.
Perfect. Copy that. And we're going to do is paste it back in. And what we're going to see is we're actually going to see coolness.
Nice.
You actually get all those entities. Those are underneath the value column. And it's going out, and you can actually start parsing out what type, because you actually are probably going to be putting this in a tabular format. And in your organization, you're going to be probably putting it in one column. And underneath your phrases, you actually can go ahead and see all the phrases it picked. And you'll see that phrases in most cases, and like the Elaiza example, are multiple words. And this is actually, my friends, how you use the brand new AI Builder formulas in Canvas apps, how to use sentiment, entities, and key phrases in 8 minutes with me not touching a keyboard. So that's it. That was, I mean, I could go out and demo all the rest, but yeah. While Nick is sharing, let's actually show you where you can find this sample that Nick just created, maybe a better looking version of it, and some other training that we've actually created on this. So if he goes to aka.ms, Action Labs, the forms processing one, I actually was doing a computer ordering processing one. That's actually in the Power Platform in a day. But here, a whole bunch more. There's actually an entire day of just AI Builder stuff that we've gone through that you can actually do. So it's actually, I don't know, it says AI Builder in a day. But that's it. That was the demo I had planned on doing. And I want to thank Nick for actually helping me out. And I want to thank Elaiza for actually blowing off her team meeting. And thank you for team for letting me do that. And of course, Ollie for actually running the organization with me. So Ollie, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Thank you so much, team. It's been a great session today. So one thing I want to show here before we finish this meeting is the same thing actually that we saw in the app. If you go again to the AI Builder side and look at the models, you can also try these actually pre-built models directly here. So for instance, for sentiment analysis, you can go and, say Chuck is lazy and then see the result right here. Hopefully, if he likes this. And you can see the details, or you can say Nick is awesome. And same thing. So you can just try it out. You don't need any data sources for these pre-built models.
And we've got those same samples for the entity extraction as well in the key phrase. You can go out and give it blocks of code, just like what Nick did. Yeah.
Awesome. So a few closing points here. So please join our meetup here. And if you have any topics that you want to share, we have these sessions happening every month. And we like to have other people joining us and co-present with us. So if you'd like to present, just reach out to me or Chuck, and we're happy to host a session with anybody who is interested. And with that, thank you so much.
This is actually a video of somebody that is not nearly as talented as Nick going through all of this and showing you how to actually use all of these properties in lots of different controls, because you actually have to parse them in different ways. And this sample is there, that Canvas app. And again, we're kind of embarrassed, it's an MS apps file. If you want to actually know how to do that object detection that Ollie was showing you, or the forms processing that Elaiza was doing, I've actually got some training on that too. So if you could open up one more tab.